Hi there guys, once again this is the SCRABBLEMAN. I've got with me right here an expert level game that I'm going to analyze. Okay, so this game as well, I played it against a player by the name Cassidiyo on the internet Scrabble Club. Just a few minutes ago I played this game, alright. Unfortunately SCRABBLEMAN lost. Hey, SCRABBLEMAN doesn't always win, alright, so that's a good thing I guess. So I started the game and this is my first rec. As you can see, these 7 letters, alright. So I mean, most beginners or even intermediate players would know play a 5-letter word. That's a normal sort of thing you want to do on your first stand, alright? Play a 5-letter word, hopefully at either end of the 5-letter word or the first letter or the 5th letter should be a very high scoring consonant, alright? And that's what I'm aiming to do, alright? And also another note I'd like to say is if you're aspiring to become an expert level Scrabble player, okay, you've been told to study the bonuses, okay, high probability bonuses. Everyone studies the bonus list, the 7-letter, 8-letter bonus list, but also study your 5s. Personally for me, okay, there was a real shift from the time I was just focusing on the bonuses to studying the 5s, okay. My game developed by leaps and bounds, alright. Obviously bonuses are key for you to improve as a player, as an expert player, to establish yourself as an expert player, but start getting into the 5s, okay. There are various methodologies that you could adopt. You can study them based off a probability list. Okay, I had a different method of studying. Okay, but yeah, so study your 5 letters as well. So they come in handy in situations like this. All right, on your first stand, you want to start off with a bang. All right, you want to get your high scoring consonant at the first location or at the 5th position. So that's what happened here. So obviously you want to play your K there. You don't want to get your Y on the double letter square. Obviously K is 5 points. If you double it, you get 10 instead of the Y, which is only 8. There's another 5-letter word here which I overlooked, but I think I would have still ended up playing Cowrie instead of Kruby. Kruby scores 32 points, and it's not the points that really matters. I like to leave BI instead of AY because despite Y really helping you with scoring, with normal scoring opportunities, in terms of bonuses, I don't think Y is that helpful of a letter, okay? So I'd rather prefer having out BI instead of AY. Alright, so that's the first stand. And also another personal preference that I have as an expert player, just to throw people off, is to always start playing vertical, okay? Almost 95% of the players play horizontally, but SCRABBLEMAN always starts vertically, alright? So that's one thing you know about the SCRABBLEMAN when he plays, alright? So I played Cowrie. And then my opponent, Cassidiyo, has these letters, so it's fairly straightforward 7-letter word, a very high probability 7-letter word, probably in the region of 2000. In terms of its probability. You guys know what I'm talking about, okay? So you rank 7-letter and 8-letter words based off of their probability, how likely they are to appear on your rack, okay? Enemies, I think, is within the first 2000 probable 7-letter words, okay? So that's a fairly straightforward move for most Scrabble players. There are 8s, Moraines, Romaines, Robanize, but definitely enemies is better. Better score, better defensively, alright? So as I said, yeah, there's even Monu, I don't know how you pronounce that, sounds very Frenchy. Yep, so yeah, Moraines, Romanize, yeah, so no, enemies is the best. Alright, now this was my rack, and even before my opponent played enemies, I straight away knew what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a loose I or a loose E that may present itself, and that's exactly what happened. I knew the word classifies, so yeah, that's nothing much else to say here. For some reason, the computer thinks 5s is better, but the score difference is close to 34 points. I mean, the trial turnover also that is involved with playing basifies, you're playing all 7 letters instead of just 4. I mean, no, I mean, definitely play the bonus. I don't think there's no reason for you to not play the bonus. So, my opponent as well, he replied with a bonus, Helotism. Alright, this word seems to be following me all the time. The last expert game I annotated, I had Helotage. This time there's Helotism. Alright, so that's the only bonus for him to play. That's the best move for him. Alright, so he's ahead by 40, and this is my rack. Okay, as you can see, I want to try and catch up on score with him. Alright, so I saw Baggy. I was fairly sure of it. Yeah, with an IE at the end, and the computer concurs that Baggy is in fact the best move. There are these other options as well, but definitely the leave with Baggy is better. 1 vowel, 1 consonant, OR, very good, fairly good leave as well. So Baggy is the move there. Alright, and my opponent interestingly had a very awkward rack. 6 vowels and a consonant, and he had better options, but he chose to play MOE. Right, so he had this option to play here. Obviously you know about these vowel dumps, 4-letter words that contain 3 vowels. Okay, they come in handy in situations like this. So that would have been the best move for him. But unfortunately, let me bring up the choices. So yeah, hello probably is the best move, but he opted, oh well, there's not much in it, okay, in terms of its valuations, but that's very interesting. I would have thought hello is much better because you're getting rid of another vowel, all right? But nevertheless, okay, he played more and he was happy with that move. Hello for me every day. That's my move. All right, now I had a very frustrating rack. In fact, there is a bonus in this combination of 7 letters, but there's no place on the board for me to play it. Kotas. So I told myself, definitely the C has to go. I mean, I first saw if there's any obvious board scoring opportunities, but no, there aren't any obvious scoring opportunities. So yeah, so I thought to myself, the C and the T ought to leave my rack. And obviously I would prefer to hang on to STAR as a leave for bonuses, but there are these options as well. Cot was an option, but the problem with Cot is that now even if I did pick up a bonus, the 7-letter word, I don't have an obvious location on this board to play it. I can play 8-letter words starting off that I or the E. It's a bit difficult to start an 8-letter word with an I and an E. It's possible, but not as likely as maybe a T or an R. An 8-letter word beginning with a T or an R. So the board is a bit blocked for me to play a 7-letter word. So I instead thought I'll play act. Okay, that way I'll at least, ORA doesn't take an S as well. Be mindful of that. ORA doesn't take an S at the end. So, but at least I thought maybe if it starts with an S, I could play a mix and a bonus coming down vertically off of that column J, or even a bonus starting with a vowel that hooks onto that T. At least I give myself some opening, okay? So my bonus probability decreases slightly because obviously RAST, when I play cot here, is better for bonuses. RAST is a better bonus lead than ROST, okay? So, but I had to find a compromise because I needed to open up as well, okay? My opponent, on the other hand, played a lovely move, no questions asked there on his part, 38 points, despite the fact that he's opening up triple word squares. It's a very good move. There's a blank unseen, he's getting rid of his tiles, so that's well played by him. You know, be forthright with your moves. Don't worry about opening these triple word squares if you're scoring well and if you're getting rid of tiles, alright? And he's motoring ahead, he's gone ahead by 42 points. Okay, good strategy by him. Alright, now I had a very frustrating rack on this occasion. Now straight away my eyes lit up when I saw these triple word squares were being opened, but unfortunately I can't make use of them because I need an A or an O to hook onto this DO. In front of the DO it's an A or a U. I needed an A or a U, and I needed an E or an A in front of to place in front of the L. I had none of them, so it was very frustrating. I'm nowhere near a bonus as well, so I straight away thought to myself, I need to take the opening out here. I did try to get rid of GOY. I did think of playing something like YGO, but nah, that scores very little, and I'm still exposing these triple word square openings. So I ended up playing YO, but in fact I knew this word, but for some reason maybe I got fixated with my bonus combination and I didn't want to part with my R and my T. Riot is a word as well, which is in fact the best move suggested by the computer. There's Yahoo. I don't think I would have played it even if I spotted that word, but YO is not too far behind. So I think Riot is the best move there, despite me trading some of my bonus synergic letters like my T and my R. Yeah, Riot is the best move. I failed to spot it, okay? And yeah, I suppose the meaning for this word, what my opponent just played, is when you sing an REM song. Okay, some of you may have gotten that, but some of you may not have. Okay, the lead singer of REM is Michael Stipe. Anyways, so yeah, I guess that's the best move that he spotted. That was very good. Yeah, the computer concurs. So better than Stripe, because in terms of a leave, R is a better leave to hang on to than the G. So it scores more as well. So Stripe is definitely better. All right. Okay, now my rack isn't getting any better. So when I had this rack, I wasn't too pleased. But anyhow, I have a nice location to score some decent points and to still keep abreast of my opponent. Okay, I'll be only 3 points behind when I play Wogs. Okay, so not hanging on to the best of leaves with QRT, but at this point I'm not too worried because he hasn't shot ahead too far ahead. I'm only 3 points behind after playing Wogs. Okay. Next up, wow, my opponent played an amazing word. I did not know this word. I was in two minds whether I should challenge it or not, but I just thought to myself, somewhere in my subconscious mind, I just felt I've seen this word somewhere. I myself would have not played this, but I didn't want to waste 5 points by challenging unsuccessfully, so I let it slide. Yeah, but in fact it is a word. It is a different variant of the word uphold. UPHOARD. All right. Okay, and then I have this rack. So before my opponent played, I saw requinto, which is apparently a type of Spanish musical instrument, through the loose E of stiped. But now I don't have that opportunity anymore because my opponent played uphold. So I chose to play requinto through the loose O of uphold. Okay, so that's what I did. Yep, so I shoot ahead now by about 40 odd points, 43 points. Now my opponent has to play catch up. All right, so let's just take some stock here of take stock of what's happened so far. So I'm now ahead by 42 points. No blanks left to play, no aces left to play. The only power tiles that I might need to worry about is the X and the Z. Okay, so I'm quite wary of the fact that my opponent could play a 5-letter word starting with the W. In terms of bonuses, what are the bonus lanes available? Yes, the W is there, but not many bonuses begin with the W. Okay, there are a few, but not many. The O is also there, so possibly he could play a bonus with the O, but it won't damage me that much because he'll probably end up scoring about 65 points and also open up these lovely triple word squares for me in case he plays a bonus. All right, so that's there to consider. And also the other lane is the column L. Okay, now that's probably the most likely place for my opponent to play a bonus. All right, obviously he would have to hook it onto that R making RE. There's also this D floating about as well, and I'm quite worried about this D though. This D over here, eek, I don't like the look of that. So now that I'm ahead, I'm thinking more defensively. I'm trying to see where my opponent could possibly play a bonus. I'm also wary of the fact that there's a D and there's a Z and an X unseen. So I mean, before he played Chiao, Jiao, I was quite wary of the fact that he may play something like XI and XI, okay, because that's the sort of thing that happens with the triple letter square. Alright, so I was literally bracing myself for a big whack on the face. But instead, with this rack that my opponent has, he played the right move there because he leaves himself with a very good bonus friendly leave, LATE. Wow, it's a very good bonus friendly leave. That's the best move there. The computer concurs. Yep, nothing much to think there. Now this is my rack. Now I already explained to you what my thinking was before my opponent played that. Now my opponent is only 26 points behind. Alright, so I don't want to fall too behind on score trying to block unnecessarily. So these are my two options. One was U for 32 points, okay, and the other was Crew. Okay, now Crew scores 24, but I slightly favored Crew because it sort of blocked up the board a bit, okay, because it took out that 7-letter opening with the R, okay. Plus I'm getting rid of more consonants because I just don't like all these awful consonants, C, V. So I got rid of the C and the W. All right, and I also want to avail myself of the best opportunity of picking up that X, picking up that Z. All right, whereas U here scores more definitely, but I'm still not happy with this opening. I feel my opponent may probably end up playing a bonus through this R alongside of this R than the D. Plus, I'm not getting rid of too many tiles. I want to get my hands on those Z and the X, the power tiles. All right, so I opted to play Crew. And now this just threw me off. Now I'm expecting what my opponent would most likely do is play a word that contains a Z or an X and score about 40 or 50 points. But instead, my opponent plays this move. So it just gave me the heebie-jeebies because that gives me clear indication that he has bonus-friendly letters. He definitely doesn't have any of those X's or those Z's, okay? He has a very good bonus-friendly rack. For him to do that, for him to be bold enough to do that, okay, because I just took out the only 7-letter opening on the board. The only 7-letter opening, I've taken it out. Alright, so he must be fairly confident of playing a bonus to the D. Like I said to you, the D is the most likely place for him to play an 8-letter word. Not through the W, maybe through the O, but the D definitely. So straight away, I was hell-bent on blocking that opening. Driven for me was the first thing that stood out. I also saw Vivan or Vivan. That was a very good move for score. Alright, so this was my quandary, okay? Ordinarily, I would have played Vivan, okay? But unfortunately, he's given me a very obvious indication that he's on the trail of a bonus, okay? So he's put me on a really difficult spot, okay? So the score difference is so vast. I'm losing out on 25 points. Driven scores 11, Vivan scores 36. Oof, unfortunately I made the wrong decision, which was to play Driven, okay? According to the computer, when I ran a simulation, if I had played Vivan for 36 points, I have a win percentage of 91, okay? If I play Driven, I have a win percentage of 71. Now this is when the computer thinks, computer has no inclination of what my opponent could hold. Okay, he's just guessing generally what my opponent could be up to. Whereas my decision making is a bit constrained. It's a bit more directed because I know my opponent definitely doesn't have an X or a Z for him to have played the A. Okay, if he had the X or the Z, he would have scored somewhere with the X or Z. And for him to now play one tile, the chances of him picking up the X or the Z out of a bag that contains nearly 20 tiles unseen or 12 tiles unseen is very unlikely. Well, bit unlikely, not very unlikely. So I thought to myself, surely he won't pick up an X or a blank. Okay, so he's probably not going to come down with a high score through the W. But apparently the computer was right. Okay, I think given the fact that there are only 12 tiles and he has to put his hand into a bag that has 12 tiles and pick one of them, and two of those could potentially give him a 40-point lead, 40-point score, I still should have been wary of the fact that Wyvern is a more deadly and a more dangerous opening as far as I'm concerned than trying to block this floating D. Okay, now this is what he had. Okay, so he had retail person A, and he picked up, in fact, not the F, he picked up the Z. So he picked up the Z. Okay, so that makes things easy for him. All right, so I thought he'll be on the trail of a bonus, which he actually was. So if he didn't pick up the Z, I think life would have been very difficult for him, even with that 40-point lead. Okay, yeah. So he ended up playing Waltzer, all right, for 57 points, and he mortars ahead. Now he's ahead by 17. Now I had this rack, 2 N's, D, and an L. Alright, so I didn't pick up good letters, so I can't do much now. My hands are tied. Now I just have to hope for the best. I think right now my win percentage is probably about 20. Okay, because he probably has the X as well. I didn't pick up the X. That's how it goes sometimes. You make the wrong decision and then your problems are compounded. Okay, so then the only reasonable move I had there was invent, and I was hoping I'd pick up the X, or either that or I'll pick up a vowel so that I'll finish ahead of him. That's what I was hoping for. So I played invent, and unfortunately my opponent did in fact pick up the X. So in fact this was his rack. Okay, so it's smooth sailing for him from this point onwards. He has N fix, and yeah, it's fairly academic what happens afterwards. My opponent's won the game now, so played bid, and he plays Dewey. All right. So fairly disappointing end there for me. Okay, I played pretty well for the majority of the game. That end game there is what let me down. Okay, so I think looking ahead in the future, I probably would have to go for my stock move instead of worrying too much about a very unique scenario that could probably win in the game. Okay, there are always these unique scenarios that can improbable events that could win games for your opponent. Okay, but you need to overlook those and see what are the stock options, what are the most likely scoring opportunities for my opponent. And definitely, despite the fact that he's only picking one tile after playing that A, all right, he could still end up picking up that Z or that X, which gives him a guaranteed 40 points. Okay, guaranteed 45 points, and which is exactly what happened. So I wasn't, I didn't make the right decision there. So I'll hold my hands up and accept that. But hey ho, we all learn, as they say. All right. Here again, I hope you learned something from this expert level game that I played on IFC, and I'll hope to catch you around soon in the Scrabbling sphere somewhere. Goodbye from the Scrabbleman. Take care.